Hey guys, welcome back. It's Maverick here today with another episode of Vivy. And geez, I really gotta get these episodes out because summer season is actually already starting. For some reason, it's like back to back immediately after the spring season. But I don't. I mean, this is at this point it is already non-seasonal, right? But I don't want to like fall behind an entire season's worth of episodes here. So, anyways, that's something for me to worry about. But we will continue on as usual. So, talking about this episode, or rather, talking a little bit about the last episode, right? It's definitely got me thinking in terms of the situations over it, particularly in regards to Vivy. I have my suspicions at this point that Vivy might be more involved into this so-called AI uprising than we initially see here, right? Maybe there is going to be a twist later on, especially at the end of last episode where we see that sort of AI that was in a tank of some sort, which is clearly also part of the sister line, right? So related to Vivy somehow. So I don't know. My gut feeling is that Vivy is going to be, front and foremost. In fact, maybe even the cause of the AI uprising in the future. I mean, it's nothing is concrete yet. I mean, I will still be surprised if that comes to be that sort of storyline. But let's just say I'm not going to be too surprised if that makes sense to you guys. But yeah, in any case, we are going to start with episode 6 now. A lot of you guys are saying this is an important episode. I'm not even quite sure if this is going to continue on from the last episode. It should, I guess, since we didn't really get a resolution to the last episode. And perhaps we are going to be getting a sort of a talk between Vivy and the leader of Toak here. Maybe understand like why Toak is so hell-bent on using these very extremist ways to deal with AI. Even though I can, to some degree, understand where they are coming from. But definitely it's a little bit too over the top, right? So, in any case, let's get into the episode. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. It's an AI. Huh. Is this like... living overseas? I actually thought she died. Abandonment, eh? I don't think that's something you should be telling your patient, but okay. Nope. Gotta mute the singing and whatnot. Oh, wait. Is he this guy? Did he grow up to become this guy? No. Alright. No, at the start there, I was actually thinking, was that guy, due to his trauma and whatnot, eventually going to be like the leader of Toak or something of that sort? But clearly that's not the case, right? And also, like, this song is definitely a song by the sisters, right? Of the sister line. So why was that nurse also able to sing this as well? They're all related in some way? Or maybe, actually, we did see a lot of AI going to listen and hear Vivy sing, right? So maybe they just learned the song or something of that sort? By the way, I'm thinking whether that story that we just saw at the beginning there has a relation to the metal float. I mean, what do they call her? The mother queen or something of that sort did mention that she wanted to raise kids, right? Yeah, if they already know all this, then why didn't they actually target her? I don't think. Yeah. All right, they keep on singing. I have to mute it. Okay, so I see. So even though they're all of the sister line, they can have different functions, eh? why are you able to trust him? Although technically he hasn't outed them at this point. Oh, they actually view her as an enemy? Huh. And here I was thinking they would only. Right. So even though they're all sisters, there's different missions that they can have. Different special. Or actually, I. Hmm. And then she's dying? Or something of that sort? Right? What? Ah, okay. So that girl we saw. I mean, weren't you guys already married at that time? That interpretation. Wish. I mean, if you wanted to stop her, you probably should have stopped her a long time ago, dude. Nice. Woo. No chill at all. Holy crap. You know, I don't want to sound too insensitive right now, but this is the same conclusion I arrived at whilst the guy was talking about, crying for help and all that. That's why I said I'm not sure I agree with that interpretation. Damn. But I will agree though, like the conclusion that Vivy came to is definitely quite logical, quite no nonsense, and quite harsh. I think. Whew. Damn. This scene is worthy of like the Macross series or something. Mm. I do think though, at the very end, will there still be a part of the former Grace here? Damn, this episode is epic. Holy crap. Wow. Yeah. She's probably saying thank you as well, right? Or I don't know about that. That's there's definitely many ways to interpret this situation at the very end here. Oh my god. I can see why a lot of you guys are saying this is like the episode where shit gets real. Man. Man. Oh, so the one we saw at the beginning of the last episode, was that actually Grace? Or there is no one who can replace her. Who kill him? Wait, or suicide? Oh my god. The blood of two, eh? This is going to corrupt her in a way. Alright, see you guys after this. Well, guys, holy shit, there is so much to unpack from this episode. I totally understand why so many people, so many of you guys are saying this is an important episode, and I 100% agree here. That was effing epic. Especially the main song here during that, during that scene where Vivy was going all the way to the main tower and went all the way until the very final fist directly through Grace's chest. Oh my god, that just enhanced. That song was already a banger. That entire sequence just enhanced that song by like 100 times. That has got to be. I can't even remember the last. I think the last time I was like, oh my god, look at this animation here was definitely all the way back in Kimetsu no Yaiba, actually, in Demon Slayer. So, whew, that was epic. Okay, but putting all that aside, because great visuals, great sounds, and whatnot, that's all great and all, right? But even after all that, there is a lot to unpack from this episode, right? You can go through the more emotional kind of route, which is, oh, look at this sad story. It's such a sad love story, and Vivy is also being forced to do things that she isn't completely on board with as well. All that kind of stuff, and I think I get that already. And if you guys aren't familiar with me by now, you should know that I don't really focus on that sort of stuff that much. I mean, it is obviously a shitty situation, right? And the first thing I will say is that this shitty situation, originally I was kind of I was kind of being a little bit mean towards Psyche, because I was like, dude, you didn't stop it in the first place. Why are you stopping it now, right? When the stakes are so high. And so on and so forth. But I don't. How can I put this? I thought about it a little bit more, and then I came to the realization that this entire situation only came to be because Vivy is going around and changing timelines, right? In the original timeline, if things are to be expected, Grace never took on the role of like the administrator of this island, right? Because due to the sunrise, being hijacked by AI and all that, there was actually a distrust of AI, and so this island actually did not come to be until 20 years later in the original timeline. It was because of all of Vivy's actions that everything was accelerated, and now it came into a situation where Grace needed to to become the administrator here. So going back to the beginning of the 5th episode, right, the previous episode there, I believe, I went back and checked, I believe what they're portraying there is in the original timeline, how things should go down. In the original timeline, yes, the professor simply took Grace to that abandoned church and whatnot, and proposed to her, and so they got married there, right? Whereas here in this alternate timeline, maybe things did not quite pan out that way, right? It was under the park bench or whatnot. Well, actually not the park. I think like near a research facility and near the greenery there and whatnot. So you could say in a sense that this all goes back to Vivy's hand. And so I think it is indeed quite apt at the very end there. I like the contrast as well, right? On one hand, she has Grace's blood on her hand. On the other, she has Psyche's blood on her hand as well. So that was a nice little sort of parallel there, and you can definitely see how this is taking a huge toll on Vivy, right? In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if this does cause her eventual corruption and whatnot, and causes her to become the final boss, right? Something I was talking about at the beginning of this episode, and where I do have this sort of sneaking suspicion that Vivy is much more involved in the AI revolution than perhaps we realize at this point. Or the AI uprising and whatnot. But indeed, I love that. On the other hand, I absolutely loved how Vivy has basically fully embraced her other role here as well. In fact, I'm actually wondering though, could you in a way also make it out to be that Vivy has basically programmed a mission for herself? Can we interpret that way, right? Especially her sort of dialogue with Psyche at the end, at the mid part there, right? She's saying like, "Don't call me diva. Diva is another entity entirely. She's supposed to sing and make people happy and whatnot. I am Vivy. My job is to be an AI that destroys other AI for the betterment of humankind, right? For the end goal of preventing conflict between AI and humans. Can you say that Vivy, in this sense, sort of like programmed her own mission in a sense, right? Which if that was true and that implication is real, that also has a lot of other implications as well, right? Because the last few episodes I was making this entire point about the one true mission, and how originally I was thinking maybe what's going to happen at the very end is the AI are going to break free from their one true mission. But then I kind of reined back in my thoughts again and thought, if AI don't have like one mission there, it's never gonna work. They're just going to completely overrun humans and whatnot. And then with a situation like Vivy here, it's getting really, really complicated, right? I mean, originally I was just thinking, okay, this is like a clever bending of the rules, right? Because I want to make everybody smile with happiness and whatnot. So by sort of bending the rules, you can say that I want to save as many people as possible, right? And that kind of interpretation here. But that's not exactly what Vivy said to Saiki here, right? Even though just in the previous scene she talked to the leader of Toak using that kind of method, but then when she was talking to Saiki, that was it wasn't exactly in the same kind. It wasn't in the exact kind of tone and same kind of dialogue here, right? So I do feel like that's a subtle difference there. I'm not sure if they're trying to make something big out of all of that, but I would venture a guess and say yes. So that is definitely something to keep in mind in the future as well, right? And yeah, and basically, there's not too much else I can add at this point. I am kind of curious to see how exactly this is going to play. This is going to place a toll on her mind before the next mission and whatnot. And like they clearly went into the preview already, and they were talking a little bit about like the next mission, the next part of the Singularity Project and all that. But you gotta wonder that very ending there, is it a foreshadowing of things to come, right? We saw her sort of like AI, that mark there turned red for a moment, and red is bad, right? That is what we saw when in the very first episode when all the AI were going berserk. So I think that itself is already plenty of foreshadowing for things to come here. So yeah, and oh my god, Vivy is such a badass here. I mean, like, that is so effing cool. Like that again, that animation sequence near the middle there, like, on one hand I am so glad that I was not spoiled by anything. I didn't really see any of those like I avoided those topics on Twitter and social media and whatnot, so I didn't really see that. But it better have been really, really big when it first released, because that was just epic, and definitely my favorite anime moment so far in this year, right? And potentially for the entire year as well. Okay, so putting all that aside and putting Vivy aside for now, let's talk a little bit about something else though, which is this is more of an open-ended question and whatnot, and that is the entire situation with Grace and Saiki and whatnot. I mentioned at the beginning how I was kind of sort of not too sympathetic towards Saiki and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it is actually, he is the one who was in pain here. He is the one who is hurt the most. You could argue that he should have done something earlier, but that's kind of a moot point though. But putting all that aside, what do you guys feel about the interpretation between what Saiki was saying, how that song was a cry for help or whatnot, and then also at the very end, and then that back and forth between Vivy and Matsumoto, and then at the very end there with Grace essentially kind of teasing that she shed a tear at the very end there, right, with a small smile of contentment on her face, right? I feel like there's definitely a lot of interpretations you can go with that. You can go for the more hopeful one. You can go for the more cynical kind of interpretation. When Saiki was talking about how this song is a cry for help and whatnot, I was actually already more looking at it from a more cynical kind of point of view. I was like, hey, come on, I don't really think this is the correct interpretation of what's happening here, and whatnot. In fact, to me, it actually seemed even more so of a reason why we should put her out of her misery instead, which I guess kind of correlates to Yeah, if you think about it that way, it kind of correlates with everything that transpired, and also at the very end there, right? With Grace having a look of contentment on her face instead, right? It is sort of like putting her out of her misery here. She's free of this duty, of this endless duty of looking over the island, and she can go to, I don't know, whatever kind of heaven that I have, or whatnot, or at least be released from this, right? Kind of similar to how in the last arc there, with the sisters, right, Estella and Elizabeth, how they basically, once they sacrificed themselves, we saw the sort of we saw the sort of imagery of doves or pigeons or whatever they are flirting off into the sky, right? We saw that as well. There are three now, from from the current world and whatnot, right? So I do feel like that kind of also translates to that situation as well for Grace. Yeah, so that's basically what I'm saying for the entire scene there. You could go down the route where, okay, yeah, it is a cry for help or whatnot, and I guess it doesn't really fundamentally change anything, because you could also say that the cry for help was just to cry for her to be released and whatnot. And like I said, there's various different ways that you can interpret that situation, but I'm choosing to look at it in a way that's at least a little bit more, how can I say this, at least a little bit more feel good for all the parties involved, right? Even though obviously to Saiki, he suicided at the very end there, but like, if I'm going to be very honest and very, how can I say this, insensitive about this entire situation, Grace was long dead. All right, Grace was dead. He said it himself. The one true mission is essentially the soul of an AI here. The moment that they reprogrammed her, the moment Grace was already dead, right? This is just a shell of herself and whatnot. And Saiki was, of course, holding on to this hope and whatnot, but I would argue that she died already many years ago, when she was reprogrammed, right? So it wasn't exactly Vivy that dealt the killing blow, if you guys get what I mean here. So yeah, that's how I'm choosing to interpret the situation. But if you guys have a different kind of interpretation, feel free to share down below as well. So yeah, there we go. That is it with episode 6 of Vivy. Oh damn, this is really I kept on saying that 86 is my anime of this season, and I have heard a little bit from other people how Vivy's ending, maybe, not spoiled or anything, but it's kind of controversial, I believe is the word that people use. We'll see about it, right? We'll see about it, because right now, 6 episodes in, I am completely sold on this series at this point. Wow. So yeah, anyways, that's it for now. Thank you guys. I will see you guys next time as well. Again, we're trying to push through this, hopefully, within these next 1 or 2 weeks before the summer season comes into full swing. So stay tuned, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.